Hi, everybody. This is Eric Roman with Global Poker, aka SDSU, and I wanted to quickly go over a session I just played. Unfortunately, I commentated this entire session and the sound didn't pick up again correctly, so I'm going to do a quick voiceover and just go through my thoughts with you all. So, without further ado, I'm going to be hopping on a couple tables of 100 and 200 no limit and just analyzing how I played some hands here. So with ace 6, it is an ace 5, etc. I'm just going to go ahead and uh, call here. Some of the times I will be re-raising these ace lower um, ace small X type hands that are suited. I go for the check raise here. Great time to do that with the nut flush draw. Got some other outs such as a 4 or 5 for a gut shot. I'm going to continue my story that I do have, something could have, a lot of different things here. 4 5 still. And I go ahead and shove here. Um, Now, I'm going to shove here because he's either going to call or fold, depending on this bet. It's going to be pretty tough to have a different bet size uh, than a shove here for almost all my hands if I am bluffing, etc. Down to the bottom right, we go ahead and call with two pair since a lot of stuff came in. And I'm trying to think, the the interesting thing is that this is a really good spot for me to bluff, but him knowing that he's he's really tanking and thinking if you should call or not. But I mean, I really should always have it here, and he should be calling with a full house or better. Not exactly sure what he's tanking on. If he has a flush, he's probably calling a little bit faster. If he had a flush, he probably wouldn't have flush draw. He probably wouldn't have called the turn, and we pick up a nice pot here. Roll Tide is definitely a regular who plays a lot of tables here. And it's always nice to start off your session with a huge cooler. If I had to guess what he had, it could have been a lower flush, or I think his most likely hand is some sort of overpair with the diamond in it. Go ahead and check back. I don't want to get re-raised off my hand since I do have a couple backdoor draws. Do bet 7 for protection. This guy just limps in, which I should have made a note of, but I didn't. And I probably should have attacked that. Playing 4 tables, you're not going to play optimally. However, I'm playing 3 tables, but trying to squeeze in tiny bits of value can be counterproductive, um, as you just want to eliminate your mistakes and really focus on what you should be doing correctly. I go ahead and re-raise sevens here as this guy has been raising a lot. And when you're raising to 5 on the button, you're going to be raising a lot. So I go ahead and raise it up. Not a terrible flop, but if I do get any playback, it isn't very fun. Do I want to check back here? I could, but if he bets, there's not much I can really do, and it would be pretty tough to play. So I go ahead and bet. Ace King suited, definitely a raise as per usual. And I think this video is going to be just over 30 minutes. I wanted to try to keep my videos at about 30 minutes so that people can get a quick little, short little educational video on what these stakes kind of look like. This guy really is raising a lot, so I elected to just, pick one random hand, Jack 6 offsuit, and go with it. I am in position. I have a 6. Go ahead and my continuation bet. Gonna bet again for protection. If he has any, just 2 overs. Ace high, etc. And then with the jack coming in, there's no real reason to bet. I'll just check. He has 7s, and that's all pretty standard. Hopefully the audio is a little bit more clear this time. And here I'm just checking to see if there's another table we can play. But it is pretty early in the morning, so not too many tables exist right now. Jack 10, go ahead and raise this up. The cutoff. I think Jack 10 is offsuit is probably the cutoff in the cutoff here. I would have to look at a, uh, you know, position chart and things like that. But again, it's really about how aggressive and how people are playing back at you, where your chart's going to shift dramatically. And again, the big thing is you just don't want to make some big mistake where you're just kind of giving away free money. So if a table is a little bit more aggressive, you definitely want to tighten up, and you're not going to be able to make that mistake. Not a great flop for me. Leads in for half pot. Here with 2s, I really don't like ever coming in for a limp if I can help it. And I'll just go for a small raise. Go ahead and fold the queen 6 just because he was under the gun originally. Make a note that he is a limper. And this is pretty close too. The reason why I go ahead and raise is this 100 no limit table is a little bit easier to play against. So any suited hand is worthwhile raising it up. Not fun to get checked back on, and then I think he leads, and I'm going to be folding, obviously. 10 jack suited. You can always fold this if you would like to under the gun and 9-handed. But again, if people aren't playing aggressively, no reason not to go ahead and raise that up. Check back for a little bit of trickery here. Raise this up. Need to start betting now. Flush draw on board. And then I'm going to bet my jack high. Or pair jacks. Go ahead and fold the 8-5. I think I check back here if I remember correctly. Go ahead and check back. He leads. I can just let it go. Again, as you don't know the type of people you're playing against, you really want to lean towards the side of safety or folding in most cases, because it's just going to be harder to make a decision uh, when you're going to be faced with it on the turn or on the river. Go ahead and re-raise my ace king off. It is interesting to see a 3-bet by a limper in the small blind. So I don't have too much respect for him. And he has 10s. And we just need to dodge a 9 and a 10, and we do. A7, nice little raise ski here. I'm definitely playing a little bit tighter against Roll Tide out of position, just because he is a little bit more aggressive regular, and I can't really. I could call, but it's going to be tough to play out of position with such a bad hand, or not a bad hand, but like not an easy to play hand. Hands that are easy to play are suited hands that are um, connected. High card hands are fairly easy to play. Pocket pairs are fairly easy to play. But hands such as A7, you really don't know what you're looking for, and that's what makes them so much harder to play. Can't semi bluff, which is where you're going to make a lot of your money. Go ahead and just fold Ace 8 10. I think I bet here. And this is all pretty standard so far. I'm just trying to see if there's any sort of situations where I would be playing it differently. With this Ace of Hearts here, go ahead for a smaller size bet. Um, and then I think about what he can be calling with, most likely a queen or a king. And if he has a king, he now has a queen high kicker. If he has a queen, he has a king high kicker. And I just make a small bet so that he's going to call. I think I call with king 6 here. And I fold. It's pretty. I wouldn't say it's wrong or anything like that, but you know, you can go with the flow of the hand. I think what I said there was I don't really know exactly how he's playing, so I just opted, towards a fold. Nothing wrong with that. If I think I'm gonna make a mistake, whereas pros are saying, oh, you wanna call here with this type of hand, not a pro, not making perfect decisions. Everybody makes mistakes. So I do elect to hold off on marginal plays up until I have a better feel for how they're playing. I think I also talk about, tags and lags and things like that. Um, you can't when people just say, "Oh, well, we got some interesting hands here." I'll talk about that in a second. Hit a set of aces. I'll just call. I could have led small, but it's pretty hard for him to have much. Hopefully he bets the turn. He does not. So I go ahead and say, oh, maybe hopefully he has an 8, so I'll bet small so that he re-raises me. And that's exactly what I'm hoping for. So hopefully he has an 8 and hopefully he re-raises. And then I'm going to re-raise on top of that. So, any situation you're in, you always want to think about what are you getting value from? What are the most likely hands? If I do have an 8, what's that going to look like? How do I get the most value? And I think that is how I was going to make the most value there. I was really hoping he would have bet the turn though. Kemboy, I'll check his notes here, and this guy is just really erratic and all over the place. So he just doesn't play very standard at this point in time, is what I had the notes on him. Later in the session, I find out he's just terrible based off of what he does. So go ahead and re-raise this to 30. Seems fairly colly. Um, not a great flop for me, but I'm going to continuation bet it as I would almost all hands. And he goes ahead and folds, which is a very nice thing. It's hard to say what he is min 3 raising, calling off a 4 bet there and then folding, but that's how it goes. 10-8. I go ahead and raise against this unknown. And as I was saying about tags and lags and things like that, a lot of people do, as I saw in a Reddit post, a lot of people do like to categorize um, fairly loosely in terms of, oh, they're a tag, oh, they're a lag. But that basically shows that you actually don't know their tendencies. Everybody's going to have a different tendency based off of what hands they have, even if they're both tags or they're both lags. Do they like to go after weakness? Do they like to bet bigger when they have it? Do they like to, um, you know, insta shove when they actually do have it? Or is that, all the little small nuances you have to really pay attention to. And just by going off of, oh, this guy's a tag or a lag, is a really bad. It really shows that you don't know who you're playing against or what to do at any point in time. So it's going to make your decisions extremely tough and you're going to make a lot of mistakes. So don't do that. If you don't know how somebody's playing, just fold. Go ahead and call with the king 3 suited. Not a bad flop if it's checked through. Go ahead and continuation bet with the 8-4. Small bet. I'll just call it with the 3. Hopefully I hit a king or a 3. Not the best turn. Let's go ahead and check it back. And then obviously I'm folding here. And I'm obviously calling again. And then I'm checking. Folding the 3-4. And he has ace-7. Okay, so he had trips. That is by... I don't even know the words for it, but he's terrible. Okay, he goes immediately into the blue column. Ace-4 suited. I like to kind of re-raise these types of hands. And I also talk about here, I wasn't re-raising too much pre-flop, especially, the earlier positions. This is a great time to mix that in. And another thing that I was mentioning here was that, Doug Polk really talks about playing your hand and not worrying too much about, you're folding a lot or things like that. But when you're playing this small amount of hands with people that you haven't played with too much, as opposed to who he plays against. You're playing against one opponent. They really don't know how you're adjusting. So as they see things, their opinions change pretty drastically and pretty quickly. So therefore, you really want to play the rhythm of the game early on and establish that you're not just overfolding. Even if you do have crappy cards, it's going to look a lot stronger um, when you do re-raise. So that's just one reason to kind of go a little bit more with rhythm instead of what Doug Polk says of just play your hand and re-raise your normal frequencies with those given hands. King 4, go ahead and raise. Fold the king deuce. I don't really have any notes on some of these players yet, so I just can't be playing as loose as I would like to. This is a nice little bet ski here. He insta calls, which I wasn't able to pick up on the last time. And then we're going to get re-raised huge here. So he's basically saying he has a set or 7-8, something along those lines. And when I call here, I'm basically saying I have the ace-high flush draw. And when Kemboy calls behind us, he's saying he has something like a set as well, or 9-10, something along those lines. So unfortunately, the club doesn't come. He's obviously going to be betting huge. I'm folding. Kemboy's calling with literally nothing, and he loses. And I put him back in the blue column here. And make note that I would like to play against that guy. Not too much going on. King 10, definitely a good hand. This guy has been raising a lot, so he'll probably bet 5. I'm going to be re-raising quite big because he has more than 100 big blinds. We're pretty deep, 200 something big blinds. Not the flop that I was looking for. I could continuation bet. I decided to check it back and just go ahead and give up. Jack 10 offsuit. Not too bad to be playing in position against the guy who just keeps raising. And that's exactly what I do here. It's a little bit loose, but not the worst thing in the world. Until I get 4-bet, and I obviously have to insta-fold. That's a bet. That's a fold. Make note. Everybody goes in the green column originally until I see otherwise. Make it 11. Probably should have made it 12. Fold 4 jack. Fold 4, 8, 9. And we got aces here. So this is probably the only mistake that I made this session that's glaring. Obviously, there's a lot of other mistakes, but and the great thing is our image here. We've been re-raising a lot. This is just me being, okay, you don't have anything. I'm going to go after you. He's probably going to 4-bet me. And what I should have done is got it in, but I'm an idiot and decide to just go ahead and call. If I was in position, I think it would be a little bit better, but yeah, I should have shoved there. Whoops. So we hit trips. Good. Very scary board. 10 comes in. I think I need to put in a little money depending on if he has kings, a queen, a 10, a flush draw that he can be drawing to. He insta calls, and then I'm trying to think of what I can get value from. So, I mean, the best thing that he could probably have here is like kings. He might have jacks, and if he has queens, etc., he's getting it all in. So I'm just really thinking, what can I get called by? What amount can I get called by? Again, I should have just shoved pre-flop like an idiot. I didn't. I'm very sad about that. But that's how sometimes these things go. Make the wrong decision. Bet small amount. He tanks for a little bit. And he folds. So I think I would have gotten called for sure. Um, I think he had jacks or kings there, and a lot of missed value. Super sad. Sometimes it just stings when you make a bad decision, but that's poker. Everybody's gonna make mistakes, and you can't be too results oriented. But I did need to. If he would have gone a bit bigger, you know, pre-flop, then I probably would have just shoved. It was a pretty big bet. I should have just shoved him, so I'm kind of sad. Make a small bet with pair of kings here. This is a decent hand to be re-raising ace six suited. I don't know much about Z dude, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Just kind of feel them out, see how they react to it. So that guy seems pretty erratic to the left of me. And they both fold. So even regs play incorrectly a lot of the times. Nobody's perfect. This is a great hand to 3-bet, which I go ahead and do. Make it a little bit bigger than 3x in position. And he's been pretty cally pre-flop. Obviously going to have to put in a bet here no matter what I have. As I'll have a lot more kings in my range and good hands. And if anybody doesn't understand why I'm going to have more kings in my range, is because what am I re-raising with? And what is he not re-raising with? If he has ace king, he's probably going to re-raise me, right? If he has kings or aces, he's probably going to re-raise me, right? Pre-flop. That's just going to be the standard, and it's going to be the best move. So therefore, he has many, many less kings in his range, and I have many more kings in my range. So you can always just kind of think about, what are you re-raising with? If the flop comes and looks pretty dry with a king high or ace high, who does that favor? Favors the aggressor, right? Or else the other guy would have put in more money pre-flop. And that's just a very simple, sorry for people who already know that, but that's just a very simple line of logic. So I'm looking for another table here. Unfortunately, it's just a regular who won't play me. And if I sit down, I know he's not going to play me. So I'm kind of talking about that right now and just saying, watch this guy sit out if I sit down. And then I'm like, oh, he raised me. Okay. I mean, obviously he's going to be playing against me, but he raises. I fold. He hasn't sat out yet. I'm surprised. And then we can raise our 9-5 suited, raise our 7-5 on, offsuit. I think I'm going to go for a bet here on this pretty try flop. Kind of tank calls. And with that 9 there, I'm just thinking it's another good street to go ahead and say I have a queen. I think I could check or bet here. I'm probably going to bet though. And then I get re-raised, and I'm obviously going to fold. That's a good turn for me. I'll just check it back. And then I make another mistake here, I believe. Yeah, I think I make a mistake here. 9 jack suited. Raise that up. And I'm thinking about, okay, what can he have? Most likely hand he has is like a 10, right? 10 jack, or sorry, 10 queen, 10 king, 10 8. I was like, nah, probably not 10 8. So, and then I wasn't really thinking about for ace 10 for some reason. Not 100% sure why, especially a guy calling out of the small blind. And with that additional combo, I probably should have just been like, oh, okay, that's a fold. But I call, and guess what he has? I mean, he obviously can also have a jack. He can also have a straight. With that bet sizing, he just kind of looks like a 10. He has ace 10 suited. I was very surprised. I was like, oh, I'm not very surprised, but I'm like, okay, just want to make a note that he's not re-raising ace 10 suited in the small blind. Go ahead and check that. I can go ahead and check that. Check that back. I can go ahead and call that, I believe. I could fold it. Doesn't matter. Either one. I think I bet here, and then I'm going to. What did I do there? Check that back. He called. I think I just give up. I was thinking about betting, but I was like, eh. I have the 8. Not too many things that he can really have besides a pair that he's calling with. He can have a 10 jet, 10 something. And that's a fold, obviously. And I was like, yeah, Bei Yasuo left that table instantly, as I expected. Yensu. Yansu. Bei Yansu. Raise that up. And then we're just saying, we're just going to go ahead and sit out here. As mentioned, I want to kind of keep these videos around 30 minutes of commentary. Hopefully, you guys get a little bit of motivation from seeing people win, um, going over the commentary, how they're thinking about it. Hopefully, that you'll see the differences between my game and your game, or you'll be able to see my game and be like, you could beat me, so you could beat these stakes, etc. Because I suck. Um, but I think it's a really good educational tool that I'm going to be hopefully releasing every day so that it's not overwhelming, but it is a study tool to be utilizing if you want to get better by watching somebody or having your own private coach going over his things. I do go over other people's videos, commentate on it. If you do want any of the, sort of that, I do charge for that. I've done that for multiple people. I'm not the best player in the world or anything that like that, but I am a regular at these stakes. And if you are at a slower stake than this, I'm going to be able to help you dramatically. And as mentioned, for me, I do listen to a lot of the pros and things like that, but not everything is exactly translatable into a lower stakes just because they, one, leave out information that they assume that you already know, and they haven't gone through that sort of heartache recently, and they're playing with more of a I don't know how to say this or exactly explain it, but they're able to play many more hands because they know how to act in those certain situations. Whereas somebody who's not as good shouldn't be playing as loose as them because you're going to be put in some tough, tough spots and you're just going to make mistakes as the percentage for error is less than 5% if you want to make it profitable. So I mean it's basically you know getting a thread in a needle, um, a needle hole in terms of how you need to be precise and be perfect and things of that nature. Whereas I take the approach of, hey, I know I make mistakes. I know that I'm not on par with those top level professionals. Let's take a little bit of a safer route with high levels amount of logic, with less amounts of readability skills, and let's play an easier style. So hopefully you guys got some education out of that, and I will be posting these videos if you guys like them. And just please give me some feedback as to what you want to see, and I'll make a lot more if I get um, good reception on it. All right, thanks a lot. This is Eric Roman, SDSU at Global Poker. Thanks.